Hey y'all, and welcome back to Mindful Musings. I have a crazy story to tell you. So, it all started last night. I was on my way to bed around like 10 o'clock last night. Okay, and I heard like a boom, boom. Okay, not like a gun, not like a boom, boom gun. Okay, just like that sound. Boom, boom. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So, I peep out my window and look out front, and we have two trash cans and a recycling bin, and both are knocked over. And I was like, what the heck? And there's like trash strewn everywhere. I was like, what's going on? And so then I kind of like glanced down the street and I saw this tall man walking away from the house. And I was like, what the heck? In my head, this is just some teenager acting out. Okay. It was harmless in my head, like some teenager acting out, no biggie. So I go outside and to be like, hey, what the hell? And so I went outside and I said, don't mind my French here. I said, don't fucking do that again. It's 10:30 at night, dog. Like, don't fucking do that again. And I was on my way to go pick up the trash cans. I wasn't expecting him to come back. Like, just don't do that again, right? No. Ashley should have kept her dang mouth shut. Okay, now this is when the universe teaches me lessons because I immediately was like, okay, shit. This man, okay, not teenage boy like I thought, this man turned around and proceeded to start running at me. And I'm like, what? And he's spewing, you want me to fucking never do that again? You gonna tell me what to. And like he was spewing other stuff that I'm not gonna repeat. But it was the way that he turned around was so aggressive, and the way he it was like he I felt like he charged me. Okay, I was like, oh my god, I've never been more scared, dude. And let me tell you, the shit that I encountered in my childhood, girl. So I turn around and I tell Amber, because we both went out there to go pick up the trash. I said, oh my god, go inside, run. And so I run inside. We lock the deadbolt. We lock the doors. We're making sure the windows are good. And this man proceeds to walk down our driveway, hooting and hollering up a storm. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on? And all I remember him saying, okay, was this one line. He said, you know what? You can call the cops, and in a year, I'm going to get out, and this house will still be here. And all I could think in my head was, well, I won't. I won't still be here. But, oh my God. And so then I proceeded to let my dogs bark because, like, why have dogs if you're not going to let them bark at bad people coming up your driveway? So I proceeded to let my big boy go. I'm like, Copper, get him. And he's rah, 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 rah. As soon as this man heard my dogs, he walked across the street. There's a little empty parking area. It's kind of like there's like a little patch of cement, and then like imagine half of a soccer field, just area of grass where like people park. And it's mainly my neighbors across the street, or I'm sorry, my neighbors two houses down from me. They park over there often. And like, if we have friends over, that's where I would have them park if there was an overflow. Anyways, so he proceeds to go across the street to the little cement patch and sits down and stares at our house. And I'm like, oh God, ugh, what have I done? So then I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. About 5 minutes go by, and this other gentleman in a brighter shirt, a little heavier size, sits down next to him, and they're pointing in all directions. All right, they're talking. I can't really hear them because there's no way for me to like open the door without them hearing it, and there's no way for me to like open the windows, and you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying my best to hear it. I can't hear what they're saying, but they're talking in a high volume, pointing in all directions, and I'm like, are they scoping out the places around here? That's what it felt like, okay? Now, again, this is all an assumption. I don't know that for sure. But again, it's my assumption based off of the body language and what just happened to me. And I don't know anything about this person, like where they came from, what's going on. All I know is it felt like they were on something, okay? And mind you, I grew up with drug addict parents and alcoholic parents. So I kind of have an idea of what that feels like, what that, looks like. And so I was like, oh shit. And my sister's scared. I'm actually scared. I've got my axe in my hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? All because I just was like, hey, don't tape over my damn trash cans again. So then I was like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call the cops. I'm not gonna sleep tonight if they're just staring at our house, waiting for my lights to go out to do something. They could. They, there's just some scary people around here in my little neighborhood. So then I was like, all right, we're on the phone with the cops. We're explaining what's going on, and my sister hangs up the phone and says they're on their way. They're sending people over. I was like, oh, okay, they're sending people, like plural. All right. And then give it about 5 to 10 minutes, and 4 cop cars show up. I was like, oh damn. And they show up in 2 directions. And first it was just the two, and then maybe a minute later the other two came in the other direction. And he's hooting and hollering. Again, I can't hear what they're saying without being obvious. I'm not peeping too hard. And this is like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night almost. Like I think it was like 11:18 when I looked at the clock. And I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God. But all I could think of is like, I would rather stay up and have this taken care of and resolved rather than go to sleep and wake up to absolutely just like something terrible, right? So the cops are talking to him. He's hooting and hollering. Next thing I know, this man took off his shirt. My sister's like, dude, he just took off his shirt. I was like, what the heck? So I look out there and I'm like, what is going on? And he is hooting and hollering with these police officers. And now when we look out there, there's 7 cops surrounding this man, okay? I'm like, what is going on? I didn't think it was going to be this big of a deal, okay? I thought it was going to be one of those like, hey, you need to leave the premises, like, where can I take you? Whatever, you're intoxicated. Let's go ahead and get you a night. Let's get you sobered up, whatever. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. Again, it's dark. I can't see anything. I'm tired. And next thing I know, my neighbor knocks on my door, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know it was my neighbor. I'm thinking it's a popo, knocking on my door. So I'm like, oh shit, getting the dogs all wrangled. And then I go to answer the door, and it's my neighbor. And my neighbor comes in. She has a camera on her garage, and I forgot about it. So she came over, and she had the volume up on the camera so we could hear part of what was going on. And he's going on and saying like, how do you know that that's me? How do you know that they called on me? What description did they give you? Who is it? What's their address? And the police officer was like, I'm not going to give that to you. Okay, I am cooking dinner, so I just want to say I apologize if my oven beeps in your ear. We are making a nice Mediterranean flatbread tonight for dinner, if y'all want to know. But back to the story. So next thing I know, my sister's getting a phone call, and they're like, hey, can you go ahead and give me a description of the guy, right? Because he's across the street hooting and hollering. Be like, you don't know that's me, blah, 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 blah. And let me also say that I have heard this man be openly racist. And that has made me more uncomfortable than anything I've ever experienced, because I've never lived next to a racist before, never associated myself with those people. So I'm already a little bit nervous about this guy, because I'm hearing the way he's talking, and I'm like, oh, it sounds eerily familiar. That's what's going through my head, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together yet that he was my neighbor, okay? All I knew is this guy sounds familiar. Of course, this is the neighborhood that we're in. Can't wait to get out, blah, 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 right? Mind you, my sister and I hadn't checked out Jacksonville before we moved here, so we just was like, yeah, this is a great deal on house. Didn't think twice about it. It gets us out of Washington, so we left. So then my neighbor's inside. We just give the description to the cops, and my neighbor's looking at the camera, and she goes, I think that's our neighbor. I said, no. She goes, yeah, it looks like our neighbor. I think that's our neighbor. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, there it is. So sorry. So then I'm like, oh no, because this guy knows that it's me, and he knows where we live. And all I'm thinking is like, oh shit. Because mind you, earlier this year, I don't remember if I told y'all this story. And if I didn't tell you guys this story, comment on this episode, because I will tell you this story, because this one is a few months long. It is extended, and it's irritating. And I may have lost battles, but I did win this war. However, earlier this year when we moved in, this man would run his semi-truck at all hours of the day for days on end when he was home. And I'm assuming he was a long haul trucker, because he was gone for days at a time. And I let it go on for a while, but then eventually I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I haven't heard the birds in forever. All I hear is boom, 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 boom outside. And it was driving me crazy. Mind you, I work from home. So I look up laws and regulations, and they're not supposed to be parking in residential areas anyway. So I was like, okay. And when you pull into our neighborhood, there is a spot on the right hand side that is an entire parking lot for semi truck drivers to park their semis. All kinds of semi trucks park in there. And like all you have to do is like pay the monthly fee or whatever, right? Okay. So eventually I call the city and we come to a conclusion. The city sends somebody out, catches him running his truck, and says, if this happens again, I'm going to give you a citation. That neighbor had mentioned to the neighbor that was in my house, when I find out who called on me, I'm going to set their house on fire because I know how to make it look like an accident. So fast forward to now, and my neighbor says, I think that's our neighbor. I'm like, oh shit. This guy knows it's me. He's said these things before, and now he's going to jail because they done threw some handcuffs on him and put him in the back of the car. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I've never gone through this before in my life. Not as an adult, at least, like I've witnessed it as a kid, but like I've never gone through this as an adult. So now I'm a little bit nervous because, I can stop a lot of things. I can throw hands with somebody if I absolutely have to if they enter my home. I got a rusty, trusty axe, literally rusty, trusty. And, I got tons of hunter knives and pocket knives, and I just don't own a gun. I know. Okay. So, but when I think about somebody lighting my house on fire, I can't prevent that. Like, I can't stay up at all hours of the night watching the house, hoping that somebody's not sneakily in the corner, lighting it on fire with an accelerant. I've got 7 animals in this house. So that's why I'm so worried. I got 7 animals to care for, and my baby sister, as well as myself. The belongings can be replaced. It is what it is. But wrangling 2 cats and 5 dogs, that's hard. And getting them all in the car, that's even harder. And then, oh my goodness. So I was so nervous last night. And then the cop comes up to the door and he says, hey, we're going to go ahead and take him in for resisting. He's going to jail tonight. And so I asked, like, hey, this guy's my neighbor. He knows where I live and he knows that we called. Do you have any advice for when he gets out? And he said, well, you can do a restraining order, but you're going to have to go over there and ask his name. I was like, what? Like, why aren't you going to give me this information? And so I said, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And he's like, well, that's your option, get the restraining order. So, but I will say, with this man in jail, I had the best sleep, the best 5 hours of sleep, and I'm feeling a lot more relaxed today. But holy spicoli, y'all, let me tell you how scary that situation was. And the whole moral of this story is, if it's not serious, I could have just let the trash can thing go. And now I know too. I would have rather had just waited for the guy to go pick up the trash, come back inside and go to bed. But instead it turned into this whole ordeal. And this is what I learned from it. Just if it is not serious, it is not actually harming anybody, leave it be. Just leave it be. Not everything needs to be addressed, especially when like you're not living in a safe neighborhood. So until next time, let me know again if you have heard that semi-truck story. If not, I would love to tell you guys that because it has to do with the same dude. Anyways, love you. Ta-ta.